My phone lit up at exactly 7:43 p.m., the blue glow cutting through the darkness of my cramped studio apartment above Murphy's pawn shop. The notification sound, that cheerful little chime that used to make me smile when Emily texted, now felt like a rusty knife scraping against my eardrums. At a meeting with clients, running late tonight, don't wait up. M. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in the chipped mug that read, "World's Okayest Graphic Designer," a gag gift from Tyler that had become painfully accurate over the years. Outside, the October wind rattled the windows of my second-floor office, and I could hear the familiar sounds of downtown Millbrook settling into another dreary evening. Car doors slamming, the distant hum of the old paper mill, and the occasional drunk stumbling out of O'Malley's tavern. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to type back something sarcastic. Hope the client likes my shirt, or tell them I said hi. But I'd learned to keep my mouth shut about Emily's increasingly frequent client meetings. Marriage counseling had taught me that much at least. Instead, I typed, "Okay, love you." She didn't respond. I turned back to my computer screen, where a half-finished logo for Brennan's auto repair stared back at me. The client wanted something classy but not too fancy, which in small-town speak meant, make it look expensive but don't charge me like it is. I'd been pushing pixels around for 3 hours, and the wrench still looked like a deformed banana. That's when my phone exploded. Not literally, though given my luck lately, I wouldn't have been surprised. Tyler's name flashed on the screen, followed by a rapid-fire series of photo notifications. 1, 2, 3, 4. I lost count after 8. Tyler worked as head bartender at Chez Laurent, the only upscale restaurant in Millbrook that didn't serve everything with a side of fries. Emily had been going there a lot lately for her client meetings. Too much of a coincidence, I'd thought. But I'd kept that paranoid little voice locked away in the back of my skull where it belonged. I opened the first photo. The world tilted sideways. There was Emily, my wife of 6 years, sitting in a corner booth at Chez Laurent. Her auburn hair was styled the way she only did for special occasions, and she was wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one she claimed was too fancy for anywhere in this town. She wasn't alone. The man across from her had the kind of face that belonged on a real estate billboard. Square jaw, perfect teeth, silver hair that probably cost more to maintain than I made in a month. He was leaning forward, his hand covering hers on the white tablecloth, and Emily was laughing, actually laughing, in a way I hadn't seen in years. I swiped to the next photo. Same booth, different angle. Emily's hand was now on his cheek, her thumb tracing his jawline with an intimacy that made my stomach clench like a fist. The third photo showed them sharing dessert, feeding each other spoonfuls of what looked like chocolate mousse. The fourth caught them in profile, foreheads almost touching, deep in conversation that looked anything but professional. By the time I reached the 8th photo, Emily's mystery man helping her into her coat, his hand lingering on the small of her back, my hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. My landline rang. Tyler. "Jake, man, I'm sorry, I didn't know what to do." "How long?" My voice sounded like it was coming from someone else's throat. This is the 3rd time I've seen them together, maybe 4th. I kept thinking maybe it was innocent, business dinner or whatever, but tonight. He paused, and I could hear the restaurant noise in the background, clinking glasses, muted conversations, the sound of normal people living normal lives. "Tonight they were all over each other, Jake. I had to tell you." I stared at the photos, swiping through them again like some kind of masochist. In every single one, Emily looked happier than she'd been in months, maybe years. "Who is he?" I asked. "Victor Castellanos, big-shot real estate developer from Albany. He's been coming in here once a week for the past month, always asking for Emily's table. Victor Castellanos. I knew that name. He'd been in the local paper recently. Some story about developing luxury condos along the river. The kind of project that would bring money and jobs to Millbrook, and make someone like Victor very wealthy in the process. Jake? You still there? Yeah. I set the phone down and walked to my window, looking out at the empty street below. A few blocks away, I could see the warm glow of Chez Laurent's windows. Emily was probably still there, holding hands with Victor over coffee, planning their next meeting. When I picked up the phone again, Tyler was still waiting. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. I thought about it. What did I want him to do? What did I want anyone to do? 6 years of marriage, 3 years of trying to have kids, 2 years of counseling, and this is what it came down to: grainy cell phone photos and a friend who felt sorry enough for me to play private investigator. "Nothing," I said finally. "Thanks for telling me." "Jake, I'm really sorry, man." "Yeah, me too." I hung up and sat in the darkness of my studio, surrounded by half-finished projects and empty takeout containers, staring at the photos of my wife falling in love with someone else. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the old windows like skeleton fingers tapping against glass. My phone buzzed with another text from Emily. "Meeting running really late. Probably won't be home until after midnight. Sorry." This time, I didn't respond. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my computer, alternating between staring at Tyler's photos and refreshing Emily's social media accounts like some kind of digital stalker. Her Facebook showed nothing suspicious, just the usual reposts of inspirational quotes and pictures of the salads she ate for lunch. Her Instagram was locked down tight, visible only to close friends. I'd never bothered to check before. Why would I? By 3 a.m., I'd memorized every detail of Victor Castellanos' online presence. 42 years old, divorced, no kids. His company, Castellanos Development, specialized in luxury residential and commercial properties throughout the capital region. His LinkedIn showed an impressive resume: Cornell MBA, 20 years in real estate, board member of 3 different chambers of commerce. He was everything I wasn't: successful, polished, wealthy. The kind of man who could take Emily to restaurants that didn't have plastic menus and wine that didn't come with a screw-top cap. Emily came home at 12:47 a.m. I heard her car in the driveway, the soft click of her heels on the front steps, the careful way she turned the key in the lock, trying not to wake me or trying not to get caught. I lay in bed with my eyes closed, listening to her move through our small house like a ghost. She slipped into bed beside me, smelling like expensive perfume and wine I couldn't afford. When she thought I was asleep, she pulled out her phone and typed something. The screen's glow painting her face in blue light. She was smiling. The next morning, Emily was already gone when I woke up. A note on the kitchen counter: "Early meeting, coffee's made, have a good day, XOXO." The coffee was stone cold. I called in sick to my only remaining client, a local dentist who needed a new website, and spent the morning walking around downtown Millbrook, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do with my life. The town looked different somehow, like I was seeing it through someone else's eyes. The cracked sidewalks seemed more broken, the empty storefronts more depressing, the whole place more small. No wonder Emily wanted out. I found myself standing outside Hartman and Associates, the marketing firm where Emily worked as a senior account manager. Through the glass windows, I could see her at her desk, animated and engaged in a way that used to be reserved for me. She was on the phone, gesturing with her free hand, her face bright with enthusiasm. "Jake, what are you doing here?" I turned to find Monica Walsh, Emily's best friend and co-worker, approaching with 2 coffee cups and a concerned expression. Monica had never liked me, something about me not being ambitious enough for Emily, but she'd always been polite to my face. "Just walking by," I said. "Thought I'd surprise Em for lunch." Monica's smile looked forced. Oh, that's sweet. But she's actually in meetings all day. Big client presentation this afternoon. Right, the client. I watched Emily through the window, still animated on her phone call. Victor Castellanos, right? Monica's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. For just a second, her carefully maintained composure slipped, and I saw something that looked like guilt flash across her face. How do you know about Victor? Emily mentioned him. Says he's a big deal. Yes, well, the Castellanos account is very important to the firm. Monica was back in control now, her voice professionally neutral. Emily's been working very hard on it. I bet she has. We stood in awkward silence for a moment, watching Emily through the window. She'd finished her phone call and was now typing furiously on her computer, completely absorbed in her work, or in whatever message she was sending to Victor. I should go, Monica said finally. Tell Emily I said hi if you see her. Actually, Monica, I called as she started to walk away. How long has Emily been working with Victor? She turned back, and this time there was no mistaking the guilt in her eyes. Jake, I think you should talk to your wife about this. I'm talking to you. I can't. It's not my place. How long, Monica? She looked around nervously, as if Victor might materialize from behind a parked car. 2 months, maybe 3. Look, Jake, I really can't discuss client business. But you can discuss my wife's business, right? Because that's what this is really about. Monica's face went pale. I don't know what you mean. Sure you don't. I walked away before she could respond, leaving her standing on the sidewalk with her coffee and her guilty conscience. As I headed back toward my studio, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Tyler's photos one more time. In the last one, Emily and Victor were standing outside the restaurant, his hand on her lower back, as he guided her toward a sleek black BMW. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Working late again tonight, don't wait up. This time, I texted back. Which client tonight? 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, the Castellanos project, very demanding. I stared at the message for a long time, thinking about Monica's guilty face and Emily's cold coffee and the way my wife had smiled in those photos, really smiled, like she used to smile at me. Then I typed, I'm sure he is. Emily didn't respond. 3 days later, I was sitting in Tyler's bar nursing my 3rd beer when Emily finally called. It was 9:30 p.m., and according to her text from earlier, she was supposed to be in another client dinner with Victor. Hey babe, she said, and I could hear restaurant noise in the background. Just wanted to check in. Where are you? Chez Laurent. The Castellanos presentation went really well, so we're celebrating. I looked across the bar at Tyler, who was wiping down glasses and pretending not to listen. He'd already told me that Emily and Victor had a standing reservation for Thursday nights. Table 12, corner booth, always ordered the salmon and split the chocolate mousse for dessert. We? The team, Monica, Lana, a few others from the office. Through the phone, I could hear a man's voice in the background, low and intimate. Emily laughed, that same laugh from Tyler's photos. Sounds like fun, I said. Tell the team I said hi. I will. Love you. Love you too. She hung up, and I stared at my phone for a long moment before looking up at Tyler. He was shaking his head. She's not with any team, he said quietly. It's just her and Victor. Same table as always. I know. So what are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? What was I supposed to do? Confront her? Follow her? Hire a private investigator I couldn't afford to document an affair I already knew was happening? I'm going to finish my beer, I said. Then I'm going to go home and pretend I believe her. Jake, man, you can't just what? Can't just let my wife cheat on me with some rich asshole? Can't just sit here and drink while she's across town falling in love with someone else? I drained the rest of my beer and slammed the empty bottle on the bar harder than necessary. What exactly can't I do, Tyler? The bar went quiet. A few regulars looked our way, then quickly turned back to their drinks. Tyler set down his towel and leaned across the bar. You can't just give up, he said. That's not who you are. Maybe it is now. I left money on the bar and walked out into the cold October night. The streets of downtown Millbrook were mostly empty, just a few cars parked outside the remaining businesses and the occasional pedestrian hurrying home. I could see the warm glow of Chez Laurent 3 blocks away, and for a moment I considered walking over there, marching inside and confronting Emily and Victor in front of everyone. Instead, I went home to our empty house and sat in the dark, waiting for my wife to come home from her date. Emily got home at 11:45 p.m., smelling like wine and Victor's cologne. She slipped into bed beside me and fell asleep immediately, her phone buzzing with text messages she thought I couldn't hear. The next morning she was gone before I woke up. Another note on the counter. Early meeting. Back late. Leftovers in the fridge. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash, then immediately pulled it out and smoothed it flat on the counter. Evidence. Not that I knew what I was going to do with it. My phone rang. Tyler. You need to see something, he said. Can you come to the bar? It's 10 in the morning. I know what time it is, just come. I found Tyler in the back office of O'Malley's Tavern, hunched over his laptop with a grim expression. On the screen was Emily's Instagram account, the private one I couldn't access. How did you... Monica follows Emily. Monica's dating my cousin Steve. Steve's an idiot who uses his girlfriend's phone to look at other women on Instagram. Tyler clicked through a series of photos. These were posted last night. The first photo showed Emily and Victor at their usual table, wine glasses raised in a toast. The caption read, "Celebrating new beginnings with someone special." The second photo was a close-up of their hands intertwined on the white tablecloth. Emily's wedding ring was clearly visible, but so was the way her thumb was stroking Victor's knuckles. The third photo made my stomach drop. Emily and Victor outside the restaurant, his arms around her waist, her face tilted up toward his. They were kissing. The caption read, "Sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them." I stared at the screen, feeling something cold and sharp settle in my chest. This wasn't just an affair anymore. This was Emily publicly celebrating the end of our marriage, sharing her happiness with the world, while I sat at home eating leftover Chinese food and pretending everything was fine. "Jake?" Tyler's voice sounded far away. "You okay?" I wasn't okay. I wasn't even close to okay. But sitting in that cramped office, looking at photos of my wife kissing another man, something clicked into place, a decision I didn't know I'd been making. "I need you to send me those photos," I said. "What are you going to do?" I thought about Emily's note that morning, her cold coffee, the way she'd been lying to my face for months while posting about her new beginnings on social media. "I'm going to stop pretending," I said. "I spent the weekend planning. Not some elaborate revenge scheme. I'm a graphic designer, not a criminal mastermind. But something simpler and infinitely more satisfying. I was going to tell the truth. Emily worked late both Friday and Saturday, claiming she needed to finalize the Castellanos presentation. I didn't bother asking why a presentation needed to be finalized twice, or why it required dinner at expensive restaurants and intimate Instagram photos. Instead, I used the time to do research. Victor Castellanos wasn't just some rich guy with good hair and a BMW. He was married, or had been until 6 months ago, when his wife filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences. The divorce proceedings were messy and public, covered extensively in the Albany business journals. His ex-wife, Patricia, had accused him of having multiple affairs during their 15-year marriage. Apparently, Emily wasn't Victor's first client meeting. I also discovered that Victor's company was in the middle of a major development deal in Millbrook, the old textile mill property along the river. The project required approval from the City Planning Commission, which meant Victor needed local support. The kind of support that might come from a well-connected marketing firm like Hartman and Associates. Suddenly, Emily's role in this relationship became clearer. She wasn't just Victor's mistress. She was his local connection, his way into Millbrook's business community. And if the Instagram photos were any indication, she was falling hard for a man who saw her as a means to an end. By Sunday evening, I had a plan. Emily came home around 10, later than usual and more disheveled than she'd been trying to appear. Her lipstick was gone, her hair was mussed, and there was a small bruise on her neck that she'd tried to cover with makeup. "How was work?" I asked from the couch, where I'd been reading the same page of a book for the past hour. "Long," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I'm exhausted. I think I'll just go to bed." "Em?" I called as she headed toward the stairs. She turned back, and for a moment I saw something that looked like guilt flicker across her face. Or maybe it was just wishful thinking. "I love you," I said. Her smile was small and sad. "I love you too, Jake." It was the last lie she would tell me. Monday morning, I waited until Emily left for work, then drove to FedEx and printed 50 copies of Tyler's photos along with the Instagram screenshots. High-quality color prints on glossy paper, the kind of professional presentation Emily would appreciate. I made 3 separate packages. The first went to Lana Hartman, Emily's boss, and the owner of Hartman and Associates. The second went to Emily's parents in Syracuse. The third went to the Millbrook Chamber of Commerce, where Victor was scheduled to present his development proposal on Wednesday. Each package included a simple note, printed on my professional letterhead. "Thought you might be interested in seeing how Emily Walsh conducts client relations. As a graphic designer, I believe in truth in advertising." I signed each note with my full name and contact information. If Emily wanted to destroy our marriage, she could do it honestly. The packages went out Monday afternoon. By Tuesday morning, my phone was ringing. "Jake Walsh, this is Lana Hartman. I think we need to talk." Lana Hartman's office was everything Emily had always wanted. Corner windows overlooking the river, expensive furniture, abstract art on the walls that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. Lana herself was in her 50s, impeccably dressed, with the kind of cold professionalism that had built Hartman and Associates into the most successful marketing firm in the region. She was also furious. "Sit down, Mr. Walsh." She gestured to a chair across from her desk, where my package sat opened, the photos spread across the mahogany surface like evidence at a crime scene. I sat. "These photos," she began, her voice carefully controlled, "were taken without consent in a private establishment. Depending on the circumstances, that could constitute harassment, stalking, or invasion of privacy." "They were taken in a public restaurant by a concerned friend," I replied. "And the Instagram photos were posted publicly by my wife. Your wife is one of my best employees. Your employee is having an affair with a client while representing your company. I thought you should know." Lana picked up one of the photos, the one of Emily and Victor kissing outside the restaurant, and studied it with the same attention she'd probably give a marketing proposal. "Emily's personal life is her own business," she said finally. "Not when it involves your clients, not when she's using company resources to conduct an affair, not when she's posting about it on social media while claiming to be working late. You're angry, I understand that, but this," she gestured at the photos, "this is vindictive. This is honest." We stared at each other across the desk, and I could see Lana calculating, weighing the potential damage to her company against whatever loyalty she felt toward Emily. In the end, business won. "Emily will be terminated," she said quietly. "Effective immediately." "That's not what I wanted." "Then what did you want, Mr. Walsh?" I thought about it. What did I want? I wanted my wife back, but that was impossible. I wanted to pretend none of this had happened, but it was too late for that. I wanted Victor to disappear, but he wasn't the real problem. "I wanted the truth," I said. I wanted to stop being the only person in town who didn't know my wife was cheating on me. Lana nodded slowly. Well, you've certainly accomplished that. I left Hartman and Associates feeling hollow rather than victorious. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck and stared at the building where Emily had worked for 4 years, where she'd built a career and a reputation that I'd just destroyed with a few photographs and a bitter note. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. We need to talk. Come home. The drive back to our house took 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. Emily's car was already in the driveway, and I could see her silhouette through the living room window, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. She met me at the door, her face streaked with tears and twisted with rage. How could you do this to me? She screamed before I'd even closed the door behind me. How could you destroy my career, my reputation, everything I've worked for? I sent some photos to your boss, I said calmly. Photos of you with another man. Photos you posted on social media yourself. Those were private. Nothing on Instagram is private, Emily, and nothing you do with Victor in public restaurants is private either. She stared at me, and I could see the moment when she realized I knew everything. Her anger crumbled, replaced by something that looked like fear. Jake, I can explain. Don't. I walked past her into the living room, where her laptop was open on the coffee table. Victor's Facebook page was on the screen, and I could see a message thread between them. I don't want your explanations. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I turned to face her, and for the first time in months I felt completely calm. You're having an affair with Victor Castellanos. You've been lying to me for months, using work as an excuse to see him, posting about your relationship on social media while pretending to be a devoted wife at home. Emily's face went white. Someone's been spying on me. Tyler works at Chez Laurent. He's been watching you and Victor play house every Thursday night for 2 months. Tyler had no right. Tyler's my friend. He was looking out for me, which is more than I can say for my wife. We stood in our living room, the room where we'd planned our future, where we'd talked about kids and careers and growing old together, and stared at each other like strangers. I never meant for this to happen, Emily said quietly. But it did happen, and you kept it happening, week after week, lie after lie. Victor understands me. He sees who I could be, what I could accomplish. And I don't? Emily looked around our small house, at the second-hand furniture and the peeling wallpaper and the life we'd built together on a graphic designer's income. You're a good man, Jake, but you're not ambitious. You're content with small-town life, with small-town dreams. I want more than that. You want Victor's money. I want Victor's life, the travel, the opportunities, the chance to be part of something bigger than Millbrook. I nodded, understanding finally clicking into place. This wasn't about love or passion or some grand romantic affair. This was about Emily wanting to trade up, to exchange her small-town husband for a man who could give her the life she thought she deserved. So what now? I asked. I don't know. Emily sank onto the couch, looking smaller and younger than she had in years. Lana fired me. My parents won't return my calls. Victor's been avoiding me since the photos went public. Victor's avoiding you. He says the publicity is bad for his business. The development deal is in jeopardy because of the scandal. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. So you lost your job, your reputation, and your boyfriend all in one day. Don't be cruel, Jake. I'm not being cruel. I'm being accurate. Emily looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd married 6 years ago, young, hopeful, full of dreams about the future we'd build together. What do you want me to do? She whispered. I thought about it. What did I want her to do? Apologize? Beg for forgiveness? Promise it would never happen again? I want you to pack your things, I said. I want you to find somewhere else to live, and I want you to file for divorce. Jake, please, This marriage is over, Emily. It's been over for months. I'm just making it official. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix this. Emily went upstairs to pack, and I sat in our living room listening to her move around our bedroom, opening drawers and closets, taking apart the life we'd built together. My phone buzzed with messages, Tyler checking on me, my mother wanting to know what was happening, even a few reporters who'd somehow gotten my number. By evening, Emily was gone, taking only her clothes and personal items. She left her key on the kitchen counter next to a note. I'll always love you. I'm sorry I wasn't the wife you deserved. I crumpled up the note and threw it away, then immediately retrieved it and smoothed it out on the counter. Evidence of what? I wasn't sure. Maybe just proof that this had all really happened. The house felt different without Emily. Not empty, exactly, but quiet in a way it hadn't been in years. I made myself dinner and ate it standing at the kitchen counter, looking out at the backyard where Emily had planted tomatoes that summer. Before Victor, before the lies, before everything fell apart. My phone rang. Tyler. How are you doing, man? I'm okay, I said, and realized I meant it. I'm actually okay. What happens now? I thought about Emily's tearful apology, about Victor avoiding her calls, about the scandal that would follow both of them around Millbrook for months or years to come. Now I start over, I said. And for the first time in months, that didn't sound like the worst thing in the world. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in Tyler's bar when Monica Walsh walked in. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her designer clothes wrinkled like she'd slept in them. She spotted me immediately and walked over, her heels clicking on the worn wooden floor. Jake. She slid onto the bar stool next to mine without being invited. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Tyler appeared behind the bar, wiping his hands on a towel. What can I get you, Monica? Vodka, double, neat. Tyler raised an eyebrow but poured the drink. Monica downed it in one gulp and gestured for another. Emily's gone, she said, staring at her empty glass. I know. She moved to Albany last week. She's living with Victor. I felt something twist in my stomach, but I kept my voice neutral. Good for them. No, Jake, it's not good for them. It's not good for anyone. Monica accepted her second drink from Tyler and cradled it in both hands. Do you know what you did when you sent those photos? I told the truth. You destroyed everything. Emily's career, Victor's development deal, my job. Your job? Monica laughed bitterly. I was Emily's assistant on the Castellanos account. When Lana found out I knew about the affair and didn't report it, she fired me too. Said I was complicit in Emily's unprofessional conduct. I felt a flicker of guilt, but pushed it down. You could have told me what was happening. It wasn't my place. It wasn't your place to cover for her either. Monica stared into her vodka like it might contain answers to questions she didn't know how to ask. Emily thought she was in love, she said quietly. She thought Victor was going to leave his wife, marry her, take her away from all this. She gestured vaguely at the bar, at Millbrook, at the life Emily had wanted to escape. His wife left him 6 months ago. Because of another affair, with his previous client liaison in Schenectady. Monica finished her second drink and signaled Tyler for a third. Victor has a pattern, Jake. He finds a local woman to help him navigate the politics of whatever development project he's working on, seduces her, uses her connections, then moves on to the next town and the next project. Emily didn't know? Emily didn't want to know. She was so desperate to believe she'd found her ticket out of here that she ignored every red flag. Tyler set down Monica's third drink and gave me a meaningful look. I could see the question in his eyes. How much of this is your fault? So what happened? I asked. Why did Victor take her to Albany if he was just using her? Monica laughed, but there was no humor in it. Damage control. The photos you sent eliminated his development deal here in Millbrook. The city council voted it down unanimously. Didn't want to be associated with a man who seduces married women. So Victor's moving his operation to Albany, and he needs Emily to help him salvage his reputation. And Emily thinks this means he loves her. Emily thinks this means she won. She's living in his penthouse apartment, driving his car, telling everyone who'll listen that she's finally found her real life. Monica's voice was getting louder, drawing looks from other patrons. She has no idea she's just another business expense. I thought about Emily in Victor's apartment, probably decorating it with the same enthusiasm she'd once brought to our small house. I thought about her posting Instagram photos of her new life, her new beginnings, while Victor planned his exit strategy. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Monica stared at me for a long moment, her eyes glassy from the vodka. "Because I think you should know what you did. You didn't just expose an affair, Jake. You handed Emily over to a predator. Emily made her own choices. Emily was naive and unhappy and looking for something better. You could have fought for her. Instead, you destroyed her." The accusation hung in the air between us like smoke. Around the bar, conversations continued. Pool balls clicked. The jukebox played an old country song about lost love and second chances. "She lied to me for months," I said finally. "She cheated on me, humiliated me, made me look like a fool to everyone in town. So you decided to make her look like a fool instead." I decided to tell the truth. Monica finished her drink and stood up, swaying slightly. "The truth. Right." She pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. "Here's some truth for you, Jake. Emily's been calling me every day, crying, asking if there's any way to fix things with you. She says Victor treats her like a secretary, that he's already talking about wrapping up the Albany project and moving on to Buffalo." On the phone screen was a text from Emily. "I made the biggest mistake of my life. Is there any chance Jake would talk to me?" I stared at the message, feeling something cold settle in my chest. "What did you tell her?" "I told her you'd moved on, that you were dating someone new and seemed happier than you'd been in years." "I'm not dating anyone." "I know, but Emily doesn't need to know that." Monica put her phone away and looked at me with something that might have been pity. "She hurt you, Jake, I get that. But what you did to her, that was cruel." She left money on the bar and walked out, leaving me alone with Tyler and the weight of what she'd told me. "You okay?" Tyler asked. I thought about Emily crying in Victor's apartment, about her desperate texts to Monica, about the realization that she'd traded a husband who loved her for a man who saw her as a business opportunity. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You could call her." "And say what? That I'm sorry I exposed her affair? That I'm sorry I told the truth?" "You could say you still love her." I stared at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. A man I barely recognized, harder and colder than the person I'd been a month ago. "Do I?" I asked. Tyler didn't answer, but he didn't need to. We both knew the truth, even if I wasn't ready to admit it yet. I finished my beer and walked home through the quiet streets of Millbrook, past the empty storefronts and the old textile mill where Victor had planned to build his luxury condos. The October wind was sharp with the promise of winter, and the streetlights cast long shadows that seemed to follow me home. In my empty house, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my phone, Emily's number highlighted on the screen. All I had to do was press call, and I could hear her voice again, could maybe find a way to forgive and be forgiven. Instead, I turned off the phone and went to bed alone, listening to the wind rattle the windows and wondering if revenge was supposed to feel this hollow. 3 months later, I was redesigning the logo for Brennan's Auto Repair, again, when my phone rang. Unknown Albany number. "Jake, it's Emily." I hadn't heard her voice since the day she moved out, and it hit me like a physical blow. She sounded smaller somehow, younger and more fragile than I remembered. "Emily, I saved my work and leaned back in my chair. How did you get this number? It's the same number you've had for 6 years. Right. Of course it was. How are you? She asked, and I could hear traffic in the background, the sound of a city much bigger than Millbrook. I'm fine. How are you? A long pause. I've been better. I waited, not sure what she wanted me to say. Through my studio window, I could see the main street of downtown Millbrook, mostly empty on a Tuesday afternoon in January. Snow was falling, the kind of wet, heavy snow that would make driving treacherous by evening. Jake, I need to tell you something. Okay. Victor's gone. He left last week for a project in Buffalo. He didn't ask me to come with him. I closed my eyes, remembering Monica's prediction from months ago. I'm sorry. Are you? Are you really sorry, or are you glad that I got what I deserved? The question was fair. Was I glad? Part of me, the part that had spent months feeling humiliated and betrayed, was satisfied that Emily had learned the hard way what kind of man Victor really was. But another part, the part that had loved her for 6 years, felt sick at the thought of her alone in Albany, abandoned by the man she'd given up everything for. I'm sorry you're hurting, I said, and meant it. Emily started crying then, soft sobs that carried clearly through the phone. I lost everything, Jake. My job, my friends, my marriage, and for what? For a man who saw me as a business expense? Emily, I know what you're going to say, that I made my choices, that I brought this on myself. And you're right. But I need you to know that I regret every single decision I made, every lie I told you, every night I spent with him instead of home with you. I stared out at the falling snow, remembering other January days when Emily and I had been snowed in together, drinking coffee and planning our future. It felt like a lifetime ago. What do you want me to say? I asked. I want you to say you forgive me. I want you to say there's still a chance for us. The words hung in the air between us, carried across 100 miles of highway and heartbreak. I thought about the Emily I'd married, full of dreams and ambition and love for our life together. I thought about the Emily who'd cheated on me, who'd lied to my face for months while posting about her new beginnings on social media. I thought about the Emily who was crying on the phone, alone in a city that had promised her everything and given her nothing. Emily, I said gently, we're divorced. Divorce papers are just paperwork. We could start over, try again. Could we? Could you really come back to Millbrook, back to this small-town life you wanted so desperately to escape? Another long pause. I don't know. Maybe, if it meant being with you. That's not good enough. What do you mean? I stood up and walked to the window, watching the snow accumulate on the empty street below. You didn't leave me for Victor, Emily. You left me for the life you thought Victor could give you. The money, the travel, the excitement. Victor's gone, but those things you wanted, they're still out there, and I still can't give them to you. I don't care about those things anymore. You say that now, because you're hurt and alone and scared. But what happens in 6 months or a year when another Victor comes along? Someone else with money and connections and promises about the life you could have? Emily was quiet for so long I thought she might have hung up. Finally, she whispered, I would never do that again. You said you'd never cheat on me. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You made vows to me, Emily. You promised to love and honor and be faithful to me, and you broke those promises the moment something better came along. Why should I believe this promise would be any different? I could hear her crying harder now, and part of me wanted to take back the words, to comfort her the way I had for 6 years of marriage. But I'd learned something about myself in the months since she'd left. I was stronger than I'd thought, and I deserved better than someone who would only love me when all other options were exhausted. I'm different now, she said. What happened with Victor? The way he used me and discarded me. It changed me. I understand now what I had with you, what I threw away. Maybe you are different, but I'm different too. What do you mean? I thought about how to explain it, this new version of myself that had emerged from the wreckage of our marriage. I mean, I'm not the same man who would have taken you back just because you asked. I'm not the same man who would have accepted your apologies and promises and hoped for the best. Jake, please. I loved you, Emily. I loved you more than I've ever loved anyone, and I would have done anything to make you happy. But love isn't enough when it's not mutual, when it's not respected. It was mutual. No, it wasn't. If you had loved me the way I loved you, you never would have been able to do what you did. You never would have been able to lie to my face night after night, to post pictures of yourself with another man while wearing the ring I gave you. The line went quiet, except for the sound of Emily's breathing and the distant hum of Albany traffic. So that's it? She asked finally. You won't even consider trying again? I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me like the snow falling outside. That's it. I love you, Jake. I know I have no right to say that after what I did, but I love you. I love you too, I said, and realized it was still true. But love isn't enough anymore. Emily hung up without saying goodbye, and I stood at my window for a long time, watching the snow fall on the empty streets of Millbrook. My phone buzzed with a text message, but it wasn't from Emily. It was from Tyler. Beer tonight? Sarah's working late. Sarah. Tyler's new girlfriend, a teacher at the elementary school who laughed at his jokes and didn't seem to mind that he worked at a bar instead of wearing a suit to an office. I'd met her a few times, and she seemed genuinely happy with Tyler's small-town life, with the simple pleasures of Friday night dinners and Saturday morning hikes and Sunday afternoons watching football. I texted back, "Sure. See you at 8. Then I turned back to my computer and opened the Brennan's auto repair logo. The wrench still looked like a deformed banana, but maybe that was okay. Maybe some things didn't need to be perfect to be good enough. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the old mistakes and failures of Millbrook in a clean white blanket. By morning, everything would look fresh and new, ready for whatever came next. I had work to do,